Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free Exchange of Ideas. I haven't done a show for a couple of days, actually I guess 4 days, primarily because Trump has just been all over the news. It's been very Trump news. He was indicted in Georgia. He did the famous mugshot, real impressive. But I just don't want to talk about, I should say, I don't want to rehash what everybody else is saying about any real topic. But on this topic, I think it's important to recognize the topic I'm going to discuss today. It's important to recognize that we're not alone on this planet, and we can't just go willy-nilly and start a war. Not just a proxy war, but start a hot war. Tucker Carlson was on a show the other day, and he said, I think the Democrats are going to start a hot war with Russia to keep Trump out of the White House. That's quite a stretch, because the only way we're really actually going to start a hot war, is if we lose some military men and women or a good deal of civilians to a overt act by Russia, or an overt act by our own government saying it was Russia. Unfortunately, that's a real possibility. They've already done it once. Gulf of Tonkin, look it up. If that occurs, these are the next steps that I see. If that occurs, if they can get it happening within the year, because it's going to have to pretty much happen within the year. This is what I see happening. We start a hot war, or we agree to a hot war with Russia. Two scenarios occur here. Russia says, Putin says, screw it. I threaten nuclear weapons, I'm going to use them. We have several, I'm just going to send them all off. We're just going to turn the entire planet into a ball of slag, radioactive slag, so it won't be fun for anybody. Or we actually get into a hot conventional war supporting Ukraine. I assume that's what we're going to end up doing, or that's what we would end up doing, supporting Ukraine in this mess. So, hot war equals martial law. Martial law equals no 2024 election. That gives all four of the DAs that have indictments against Trump now plenty of time to find him guilty and imprison him, effectively taking him off the election map, and confirming that no matter who you are, if you don't go with the game, you don't work with the people that are in charge, they will find a way to remove you from the board of play. Now, I've already said this once, I think, where I believe that they're going after Trump. They started to go after Trump as a financial thing in New York with the banks and the Stormy Daniels buying her off thing. I'm not sure why that's a issue, because people do it all the time, but nonetheless, not going to talk about it. So I think they started off as a financial venture. They were going to try and bankrupt him, not realizing how much money $1 billion is and how much money he can generate by just selling properties. He has plenty of properties to sell to generate more cash so that he can afford more attorneys. Two, when they realized they probably couldn't do that as quickly as they wanted to, certainly couldn't do that before the 2024 election, they went for federal and state charges that would run him into the decades of years in prison. It would essentially be a death sentence. I don't see a president going to prison, and the reason I don't see a president going to prison is because he would have to have a Secret Service detail. He's still an ex-president. He still is qualified for all of those perks, and they're not going to go to jail to spend time with an ex-president. It's just not going to happen. And they can't remove the detail, not easily at any rate, which means that they would still have to spend some time in prison with Trump. on shift, I'm guessing, every 8-hour shift or 6-hour shift maybe, just to make sure that they're always fresh. I just don't see that happening. I just don't. I would absolutely be surprised if he goes to prison in any way, shape, or form. I would not be surprised if they just put him on some kind of house arrest for the rest of his life, and he can't leave, Bedminster or wherever. He can only be at one, Mar-a-Lago or whatever residence for the rest of his life. That's a possibility, probably a much higher possibility than him actually going to prison. So, all that being said, now I've said everything I want to say about Donald Trump specifically. What I want to say about a possible war in Ukraine with the United States physically involved. The biggest problem I see with that is if there is a attack, let's go quotes, on the United States or allies in that region, Germany, France, Belgium, all those countries, that might be a big issue, because then it brings up the Article 6 of NATO, which is, attack on one is attack on all. I think it would be difficult to get that past the American public. Well, yeah, Romania took a hell of a hit, but still it's Romania, not the United States. I think we would have to lose people in order to get the populace on board with a hot war. The other problem I see is we do not have the military to go hot war right now. This is not to say that our military is not very strong. It is. However, we don't have the boots on the ground level of people we would need to be in a war there. Because if we go to war with Russia, that brings in BRICS, their new alliance. That brings in Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE. I don't know that UAE has a military, but they have a lot of money. It also causes most of Europe to be involved in that war. And China would jump ugly, because now, on their eastern border, on the eastern coast, Taiwan is now an easy target, because we don't have the resources to support Taiwan. And the west coast of the United States becomes an easy target, because we don't have the wherewithal to support the west coast alone. And China's a big, a big monkey in this game. So we have to pay attention to the little things that are going to occur. We'll see maybe a breach in Poland's border, or maybe Germany. I think we'll see a breach first, and then we'll see an actual attack. Like if they attack Ramstein Air Base, which is a huge medical air base for the United States, everybody that's been seriously injured goes to Ramstein first before they come to the United States. They get them supported there, they get them stable there so that they can fly to the United States. If there was an attack on Ramstein by anybody, let's just say, that could be the start of World War III, because that's what it would have to be. It would absolutely have to be World War III, because then it would take nothing for Biden to declare martial law, to reinstate the draft, and rebuild or build up our military, because we don't have 3 million people to throw in a war, 3 million boots on the ground. We just don't have it. So it's going to be nasty. It's going to be quick. When we first see it, we'll go, no, that's probably not what's going to happen. And in weeks, it'll happen in weeks. There'll be a special session of the House and Senate, and they'll declare war on Russia and our support for Ukraine, our unending support for Ukraine, and that'll be all she wrote. That will put Trump in prison, or at least out of the running for the president. He won't be able to get on any ballot at that point, because they will complete their investigations and their trials, and he will be found guilty. I'm betting in at least 2, if not all 4. So, yeah, Trump still takes all the air out of the room. But there's not much air left in the room to begin with. Not at this point. Not if that's a real scenario. I don't really think it is, because I honestly, I pray to God it's not. Absolutely pray to God that it is not. And even an inkling in somebody's mind that this is the only way to, keep power in the Democrats' hands. And it's funny, when you talk about Gulf of Tonkin, that was also a Democrat president. They got us into Vietnam. Or that battle got us into Vietnam. For what that's worth. That's all I got for you guys. Again, even fluffy bunnies have teeth and claws for a reason. I have to find that video. Live long, fight hard, win the day. See ya.